So hello everyone and welcome. My name is Guido Iaquinti. I work as operation engineer for Slack in Dublin. I'm originally from Italy, but I'm there since around 3 years. I'm a member of the storage team, so I'm responsible for everything that is, let's say, database, caching layer, search, and so on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to start talking about scalability, what it means from an engineering perspective, like few scalability patterns that we use, let's say, daily to solve, let's say, problem. We're going to go through a bit of history about Slack and also like how we were able to scale our team in the last couple of years. We're going to go through a breakout discovery, so what went well and also what went wrong doing that. And then we're going to jump on conclusion and if we're going to have some time to QA. So let's start defining what scalability means from an engineering perspective. So scalability, again, is, I think everyone here might know a bit about it. It's, again, the capability of a system, network, or process to handle a growing amount of work. So, like, again, this is the definition from Wikipedia that, again, is pretty, like, academic. But let's say that my feeling is that any scalability problem can be kind of solved applying few patterns. And these are the patterns that we're going to cover today. So the first one is load distribution. So how you can spread system load across multiple process units. This is kind of basic one. Again, load balancing, load sharing, and partitioning. That's the kind of first building block of scalability pattern. Then, of course, you can also work on parallelization. So work on the same task in parallel or on multiple process units. Think about MapReduce, might be a good example, maybe not. But yeah, like this is kind of another core pattern that allow you to scale your workload. And also like relaxing of data constraint. Like, again, are all the kind of technique and trade-off that can let you to kind of decide, well, maybe this operation doesn't mean to be processed immediately. Maybe I can just asynchronously process it and so on. And of course, also QE and batching. So instead of, let's say, hitting a lot of overhead on a single request, I can batch multiple requests and send them in bulk on a system. So this will allow us to kind of increase our throughput and save a bit of this overhead. So the big question is, okay, we are an engineer. We work, again, try to analyze things before changing them. Like, can we like apply the same scalability pattern that we apply every day to scale system also on operations team? Another question is, let's define first what operations team mean. What's operation? And also, like, what does it even mean, like, scaling a team? Like, again, if I ask this question now, I know that like we're gonna come up with a lot of different definitions, like what's an SRE, what's an operation engineer, what's a system engineer. I think, like, personally, like, my TLDR is that we all design, build, deploy, scale and maintain a 24/7 application that has to work. Again, I work for Slack. Like, if Slack doesn't work, other people are not able to have their work done. So going back on like previous question, like, does it mean like scaling a team? Can I just hire more people? Is that true? So at this point, let's just hire massively and hope for the best. Well, this doesn't work. So let's start like very simple example. We are a startup, like we have an amazing idea, we have a very small team, but we have time to build it. So again, this idea came out with let's say an MVP, it's online, like people are using it. So most probably you're gonna have a single operations team. This team is probably being deployed in a single office or time zone. And also like the number of people in that team is probably going to be pretty small. And again, like the challenge that are starting kind of with a very small team are like, okay, what happens if the infrastructure gets bigger than the head of the engineers? And also, who's on call? Like, most of the time, like, is on call whoever has, at this stage, whoever has like SSH access to production. So it can be people from marketing as well, or things like that. Of course, like before we were talking about scalability pattern, let's now iterate on this model. So your startup is getting bigger, that's great, like business seems to be going in the right direction, and you might end up with multiple operation team. So, or maybe let's call it a single operation team that is kind of segmented to cover different area of expertise. So you're probably gonna end up with a partitioned responsibility. Again, someone might work especially on WebSocket stack, other are gonna be working on the network, and so on. At this stage, most probably you're gonna still have people deployed in a single office of Timezone, and also like number of team member is probably going to be less than 5. And also, like, what are the challenges here? Like, okay, Guido, but like, how big a team should be? Like, what's the right size? And I don't have an answer for that. Like, it really depends on what are you doing and how do you work. Another question is like, okay, but like, we tripled the number of people in the ops team. I'm still like 24/7 on call every, I don't know, 3 weeks, but with less system to own. Most probably, yes. So we still didn't solve our problem. Let's go now on a further iteration. So again, the business is now like a company. You are kind of established, like everything is working. Like you might have like multiple operation team, responsibility partition might be like before, but you're gonna have people in multiple offices and time zone. So that's great, because this might allow you to do what we usually call follow the sun. So you divide the 24-hour in, let's say, 3 or more shifts, and you can say, okay, the first 8 hours of the day, Melbourne is covering the on-call, then Dublin is waking up, and then when, let's say, Dublin goes to sleep, the team in San Francisco is going to take over. And you do that, like, let's say, every day to kind of cover the world. But also, like, this iteration, like, bring new challenges. Like, time zone, like, the world is big. So, like, you might not have a lot of overlap between time zone. And also, like, how do you manage knowledge transfer? And also, like, how do you, like, transfer, like, company and team culture within new people in the team? Well, let's now go, like, step back and talking a bit about, like, Slack and like Slack Ops team history. Again, it's not going to be kind of a speech, like selling speeches and so on, but I think it's very important to understand like the context, like to understand the issue that we have, especially at the beginning. So again, for people who might not know it, Slack is this product, allow people to, let's say, communicate more efficiently at work. And yeah, someone at Slack in 2014 say that we are on a mission to make your working life simpler, more pleasant, and more productive. And again, like Slack was launched in 2014. Again, right now we have office in different time zone. Like business is going great. We're going to show you in the next slide. So yeah, like since the starting, so I don't know how many you're aware, but like Slack started as a gaming company. So the game was called Glitch. The game didn't go that well, so they just decided, okay, we're using this internal tool that we built to communicate internally. We might be able to make a product out of it. And that's how Slack started. So 2013 was still like, okay, let's reshape the product. 2014, public launch. That was the year that we had like the highest growth. Despite that the line is not that high, we scaled from 0 to around 1 million users in a very short amount of time. And then again, here you can see like the curve that is not bending, and we have now like more than 6 million daily active users. A lot of these are connected simultaneously with one or multiple devices. So that's really a challenge, like to keep with that growth. Again, keeping everything up and running, like hiring people, and so on. So let's analyze now like how Slack like started. Again, 2014, going back on iteration number 1 that you were explaining before. Again, that was the public launch. We had like an ops team that was deployed in a single office time zone in San Francisco. And again, it was like the freestyle mode. So everyone was doing everything. Like the CTO was in the on-call rotation. There was a kind of catch-all core team dealing with any kind of issue. Like, network is broken. Okay, let's fix it. Search is broken. Okay, let's fix it. Customer are reporting not able to connect in Taiwan. Oh, let's take a look. But like, there was no kind of specialization. 2015, business again, we saw before, was going well. So we started hiring people. So at that point, instead of being just a bunch of random people taking from CTO and so on, we had a kind of established team. And that's when we introduced team segmentation. So we broke down the ops team in 4 different sub-teams. So the first was app ops, so dealing with any kind of DNS, network, all the front-end tier, and also the WebSocket stack. Storage ops, that is the team we're working on. We're responsible for database, caching, search, queue, everything that, let's say, that is stateful. Visibility ops, so everything related to monitoring, logging, metrics, and data warehouse. And a 4th team that is build and release. So they are responsible for all of our app, so iOS, Android, macOS, Windows Mobile. And the funny thing is that, okay, we were able to break down and introduce this segmentation. So we were able now to have people deployed on a specific topic. Let's say we have to upgrade MySQL from version 5.6 to 5.7. That was a task for storage ops. The only problem is that the on-call was still shared because, okay, we had this kind of segmentation of team, but we didn't have enough people in each team. So instead of asking someone, okay, you are storage ops, you're being on call like every day, like we prefer like, okay, you are still like in the overall ops team, you're gonna be on call once every, I don't know, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but you're gonna be responsible for all Slack. So something is breaking, that's you that you have to fix it. 2016, and that's when I jump in. So we opened our Dublin office again. Business was going well, and it's still going well. Unfortunately, like the ops team was not part of the initial office bootstrap. So we initially hired an engineer from another company that unfortunately like never proper fit with the team. And that's when I joined. So I joined after him, and I took responsibility of building our presence in EMEA. And we learned from that experience when we set up the Melbourne team, like we deploy a San Francisco operation team member there for around 1.5 years. He did an awesome work. Again, thanks Derek, he's not here, but like now we have an established presence in Melbourne thanks to him. Also, like 2016, talking about things that we introduced, we finally introduced the follow the sun on-call rotation that you were explaining before. So Melbourne is now on call, or was now on call for, let's say, Monday to Friday from midnight until 8 a.m. UTC. Then Dublin was kicking off 8 a.m., 4 p.m. And then San Francisco was covering the other 8 hours a day plus weekend. And this is because the team structure was kind of a bit unbalanced. So there was a single person in Melbourne, this guy Derek. In Dublin was just me, so I was on call every day. And then there was San Francisco that there were like around 15 people, so they were able to share the on-call rotation kind of in a more sustainable way. So nowadays, 2017, Well, we finally reached the point where we are now able to split the on-call. So right now, each team is only responsible for its own services. Of course, you are on call more often, but the scope, so the area of expertise that you need to have is way more limited. So right now, if we have a CDN issue, I work in the storage team, I don't get page. Of course, if, I don't know, my sister clusters are down, I'm the first person who gets page. We only have a kind of cross-team escalation, like big red button, only for global outages. Like Slack.com is down, everyone is on deck. And again, like today, this team structure is, as you can see, kind of growing. We have 4 people on call in Melbourne, 3 people on call in Dublin. Again, we are growing and we are hiring. San Francisco, we are around 20 people in the on-call rotation. So again, they're still covering weekend for us. I think at one point we're going to have enough people in Melbourne and Dublin to cover our own, let's say, weekend. So, okay, everything seems fine, but let's also talk about, let's say, what went well and what went wrong. So let's start what worked well. Like, follow the sun rotation, really improve work-life balance. Like, wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., I don't know, like front end is lower, 10 milliseconds, we have an issue. Like you have to punch yourself and then open the laptop and then try to understand what's going on. That's not nice. And also like having the on-call split across team helped a lot, because the small team will feel less firefighters, sorry, and more builders. And this will also enhance alert ownership. So if, again, I get page because the front end is slower, I'm in the database team, I'm reporting this issue on AppOps, and no one in AppOps is doing anything, the day after I'm going to get page again. If they get page, especially in the middle of the night, I'm pretty sure the day after the issue is going to be fixed. And also, like, what we found is that building team in different offices help you as well to, well, of course, like avoid office saturation, but also improve diversity and inclusion. Like the world is big, again, a team that is very focused, I don't know, American culture or whatever, I mean, might be a bit toxic. Like if you kind of bring new people in with different idea, coming from different places and so on, that's how you create like an healthy environment. Let's now talk about what didn't go very well. So I can tell you, from my experience, being the only engineer on call in a region is hard, especially if you have to cover EMEA. Again, I covered that for several months. It wasn't easy. I'm happy now that we have now a kind of better situation. But like, and also like bootstrapping an office is really hard, and also like hiring awesome people is even harder. And always keep in mind that scaling a team, regarding what you were saying before, is way more complex than simply hiring people. Because you need to take care about company, department, and team culture, that they might be slightly different. And also you have to take care about knowledge transfer, so everything that is related to onboarding, everything that is related to how things works, that's really important. And that's a picture of me last year in December, I think. So what we learned, but also like what I personally learned from this experience. Well, that time zone challenge is real. Like we have our offices, engineering offices, that are like spanning through UTC -8 to UTC +10. And just to give you an example, like it's impossible without asking someone working outside business hour to make a meeting all together. Like you cannot sit and say, okay, let's talk about how we are going to deploy this. You can't. Like when it's midnight in one place, it's going to be another time in another, and like there is no overlap. So always keep this in mind when you need to set up like engineering presence somewhere. Like if you have people working in the same team in 3 different time zones, they might end up doing, let's say, weekly meeting. For example, 1 week San Francisco, Dublin, and the second week San Francisco, Melbourne. And that's important. Also, what I personally found that documentation is essential. like especially when you are alone, something is breaking, like you don't know what's happening, like having a clear document. We use this today on call. It's a simple markdown document that everyone who's on call should update it with what's outstanding. And also like incident handoff, like usually when there is a, like an ongoing incident, we try to hand it off to another region instead of working overtime. And also like having nice runbooks. So for runbooks, we mean like documentation that can help people that don't know about a service or a specific alerts what is going on. So like you get page, I don't know, for MySQL being slow or a specific, I don't know, sub-process, that person might not have all the detail. Like again, think about we're growing that fast. No one can have the overview of everything that is going on. And again, regarding this, there is my coworker Joe that tomorrow is going to do a talk about automation and runbook. I suggest you follow. And also keep in mind that again, you're not alone. Like I think I failed a bit at this last year. Like we have this role about being incident commander. So that's the person who usually take care of kind of organizing the effort to mitigate an issue. And from time to time, like I kind of like thought, okay, I can deal everything by myself. Like I can do with this issue. Like that's something that cannot scale. And also like having detailed and clear procedure to escalate incidents, especially when you are alone. You can say like, okay, I'm hitting something in MySQL. I don't know, I troubleshoot 20 minutes. Like, I don't know, I need to have the possibility to escalate the incident with a person of my team, or if, for example, a store ops issue is triggered by an ops issue, I should be able also to escalate across team, but also across engineering team, or also across departments. So if Slack is down, or Slack is slow, or a feature is not working, like our customer experience team has to update status Slack.com and things like that. And the same for provider. Like again, we don't run our own data center. The problem is that if Amazon is down, like we are down, or like our performance might be degraded. So it's very important to have detailed and clear procedure also to escalate incident across provider. What we found also, well, was not that difficult, but like Slack is an awesome tool, like to kind of solve a few of these issues. Like Slack really uses Slack to improve geo-distributed work. And how we do that? Well, we have different channels like that are dedicated to specific alerts. Everything that is kind of production impacting, or there is something going on, we discuss it in ops. And also, like the best feature, in my opinion, is that everything is documented by design. So if you wake up in Dublin, I don't know, you get page or whatever, or you just want to investigate what happened yesterday night to a cluster, well, you have that information in Slack. You have bot reporting that, I don't know, an operation is going on. Or here we have Patrick, my teammate, again, saying like, I'm doing this operation. Or Jenkins say, oh, we just promote a build to dev. Or again, Paul saying like, we deploy Singapore. We put it live again. It's also very important like to keep people in the loop. And for the loop, I mean like, kind of get them like feeling like they are part of a group. And like it's difficult in remote team. And I suggest like, especially like partnering with software engineer for project and architecture review. Like in February, I started this huge project about redesigning all the database system at Slack. So that project was something that I kicked it off in Dublin with another guy from San Francisco. And I mean, I'm pretty happy to say like it's serving like a slight amount of production traffic, but that's something that really helped me to keep in loop with people in San Francisco. Also, like having biannual and peer feedback and performance review is pretty important. And having like the possibility to visit your HQ more than once a year. I found also very important, like if you have a remote manager, like I do, like having weekly one-on-one. We also have like other like program like Cross Team 101, we call it Ops Donuts, and Global Recognition like Winner of the Week and Kudos. So Ops Donuts is a simple bot that helps you to know better your teammates by pairing everyone every 2-4 weeks. And that's just like having 5 minutes to talk about things, like try to understand what the other person is doing and so on. Also, like having global recognition, like with program like Kudos. Again, in this case, like my manager kudos me in front of the company, say, oh, Guido, you did it very well yesterday because you deal with this incident in a nice way. We also have this Win of the Week. So that's a program that kind of recognizes the effort that someone did during the week to, I don't know, fix an nasty bug or address an internal or customer needs. And again, in this case, for example, Maud, like she created an automatic report tool to get our API endpoint usage. And again, that may be something like simple, but it's really cool to have like recognize in front of the company the work that you did. And the trophy is called Kali. We have another picture here. We have a more detailed picture here. And I don't know if you know my CTO, but well, yeah. So let's jump now to the conclusion. So bootstrapping a team is hard. We say it before. Especially if in the meantime we have to keep Slack up and running, work on project, attend prepare meeting, and also like participate in like mentoring and onboarding. Always keep in mind that no one is Superman. Like you can be smart, you can be, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that. No, you can't. And also like there is no emergency that you can handle and other people can't. Also like on-call burnout is real. Like you don't feel it. It just arrived. At one point, like you're just dead to work. And when it happened, like try to increase like awareness in HQ before a problem became an emergency. Also, like our motto is like work hard, go home. Like disable notification outside business hour. Don't reply to the DMs outside your business hour. And also, like if you're working in HQ, try always to do an extra mile for your teammates. So always ask yourself before pushing a change, how this change affect employees in other time zone. And also like give their PRs the highest priority. So code review is important. Like I would love to come back to work in the morning and say, oh, Joe just review all of my PR. I can merge or I can fix all the issue. Like I'm not blocked from someone else that has to review my code. Also try to don't schedule meetings too late in their day. We saw it before, like the overlap between time zones is really thin. Like you might have like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half of overlap without asking someone to work overtime. And also like push people to give you important work if it's already too late in their day. There might shy people that they don't say you like, oh look, I already work at 8 hours today. Can you deal with this issue? Like try to push them and say, hey, if you want, I can take care of that. And also like make sure that your code is documented and easy to understand. Like what is easy for you and like, oh, that's clear. Like, oh yeah, that's really easy. Like might not be the same for people working in another time zone. They don't have the context that you have about that change. And of course, like make sure that any infrastructure change, ongoing maintenance and so on is documented. What I also learned that, again, when you are in HQ, try to spend more time talking with people than writing code. Because you can always write code. You are on the plane, you're bored, you write code. You cannot do the same when you talk with people. And again, try to focus on meeting and project planning. And have fun. Again, when people are coming to, for example, from Dublin, to Dublin from SF, try to increase awareness of the challenge of working remotely. And also like share your experience. And of course, have fun with colleagues, like I did in these few slides. So I don't know if we have time for Q&A? Maybe.
So I work in essentially the operations team at Facebook. And one thing is we don't use Facebook to coordinate Facebook incidents because Facebook could be down, so we can't use Facebook for incidents.
We have also our B plan.
So I'm curious. Oh, so you have IRC for backup?
we have a B plan. I cannot tell you which one, but like, of course, when no, not tip shots, but like when Slack is down, of course we cannot coordinate incident in yeah, something.
How many employees are there?
Overall, I think 800 now. Yeah, I think last official number 800. But yeah, the operations team again, it's still pretty small. So if you want a challenge and like running an F1 car and someone asks you to change the tire without stopping the car, well, slack.com/jobs. In Israel, no, we might allow people to work remotely. I don't know. Try, then we can talk about it. Thank you very much.